Turn on the news and you'll hear the same story. France is drowning in debt. The UK is paying record borrowing costs. And the easy headline is, this looks like the Euro crisis all over again. But headlines miss the real signal. Welcome to Second Level Signals, a new division of Global Notes by JP, where we decode what's under the surface and show you what really drives the economy. Here's the truth. France and the UK aren't Greece or Portugal in 2010. They have stronger economies, deeper markets, and far more leverage to pull if markets turn hostile. The real risk isn't insolvency. It's politics waiting too long to use the power that's already there. France's debt has climbed to roughly 114% of GDP. Deficits remain north of 5%. Ratings have been cut. And politics? Lawmakers toppled a prime minister rather than pass tens of billions in budget cuts. Markets noticed. French borrowing costs now trade at spreads we used to associate with Italy, and at points this year, France paid more than Spain, and even briefly more than Greece, despite its higher credit rating. This isn't economics collapsing, it's politics running out of road. The UK's debt has surpassed 100% of GDP, the highest since the 1960s, and a big chunk is inflation-linked, making every price surge costlier for taxpayers. Remember 2022? A mini-budget nearly broke the gilt market as pension funds using LDI were forced to dump bonds. The Bank of England stepped in as market maker of last resort while inflation was still double-digit. Stability returned, but gilts still trade heavy. One policy misstep can reignite the fire. Flashback a decade, Greece, Portugal, Ireland, Spain, Italy. Debt loads surged. Banks were stuffed with sovereign bonds. There was no clear lender of last resort. Spreads exploded. Italy and Spain crossed 7% and Greece defaulted. Only when Draghi promised to do whatever it takes did markets finally calm. The euro survived barely. Look at today and the echoes are clear. Rising debt service, fractured politics, and bond vigilantes testing credibility. In both eras, the math looks tight and the politics looks fragile. But here's where the comparison breaks down. Back then, smaller economies with weak fundamentals had no defenses. Today, France and the UK are different. The ECB now has tools, OMT, PEP, and the Transmission Protection Instrument to stop spreads from spiraling. The Bank of England has already shown it will intervene even in a tightening cycle. And fundamentally, these are stronger, more diversified economies. France is the Eurozone's Natu. The UK remains a global financial hub with a floating currency. That doesn't make them safe. It means they have more levers to pull than Greece or Portugal ever did. Not politically friendly levers. Nobody wins votes promising emergency bond purchases or stealth austerity. But the powder exists. The question is whether leaders use it before markets force their hand. What could tip the balance? A failed bond auction. A sudden CDS spike. Another downgrade that forces funds to sell OATs. Or non-banks, pensions or hedge funds, caught offside, just like the LDI spiral. The next 6 months could play out three ways. Base case, muddle through. The ECB holds around 2%. The BoE stays tighter but avoids new hikes. Inflation drifts lower, not low enough to celebrate. Bond yields remain elevated, but credibility in Frankfurt and London keeps a lid on panic. Bull case, relief. Inflation falls faster, toward 1.5% or lower. The ECB trims closer to 1%, the BoE moves below 3%. Borrowing costs ease, debt stabilizes, markets breathe. Bear case, re-acceleration. Even with policy cut to 2% in Europe, core inflation refuses to fall. Wages, energy, bottlenecks. The ECB holds or edges back up. The BoE stays higher for longer. Investors test fiscal fragility again. French spreads widen, gilts sell off, and central banks face the worst trade-off. Fight inflation or step in to stop a debt spiral. That's when austerity returns through the back door. The euro crisis was a story of weak economies with no tools. Today, France and the UK are stronger, but their politics are weaker. That's the second-level signal. The next sovereign scare won't come from insolvency. It will come from leaders waiting too long to use the leverage they already have. This has been Second Level Signals, a division of Global Notes by JP, where we surface the shifts others miss. If this helped, like, share, and subscribe. And tell me in the comments which tripwire you think fires first.